Welcome to Sideline Guideline.
Hot topics,
News,
fantasy football,
betting,
weekly recaps,
projections,
rankings,
injuries.
your one-stop shop for everything football.
Welcome to Sideline Guideline Week 7 waiver wires. We're going to go through it quickly. There's going to be a lot of information since we got 6 team on bye weeks. We got injuries. It's a whole lot of mess, but we're here for you, and we're going to guide you through it. Just wanted to point out, NFL, we got 6 team on bye this week, and then next week we only got 2. All right. So I'm alone for this episode. There's no Drakey Poo, no Drake Drizzle on here. It's going to be just me and myself. So we're going to go right into it at quarterback. So most of these quarterbacks are going to be just your options for your bye weeks. All right. So first we got Jameis Winston playing that Seattle defense. Seattle's defense is really bad. That's it. That's the only reason. Play Jameis Winston. Then you got Tua Tagovailoa. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that right, so kudos to me. Playing against ATL. Pretty much the same situation as Jameis Winston. ATL's bad. They're real bad. But also Tua, man, last week, coming back from his rib injury, he played really good. They lost that game, but I was watching that game and the throws he was making, he looked very confident. He was accurate. I'm feeling Tua. All right, then we got Jimmy G or Trey Lance, whoever gets the start. It's looking like it's going to be Jimmy G because Jimmy G is back to practice and Trey Lance is not really practicing. So it looks like it's going to be Jimmy G, but against that Indy defense, not a bad defense, but they're still going to get some points. So you're just hoping that these points go to Jimmy and not to the running backs. Then Daniel Jones versus Carolina. Carolina is not a bad defense, but they have allowed the most points to quarterbacks that can rush. All the quarterbacks that played against them that can use their legs had a over 20-point day. Jalen Hurts being one of them. Jalen Hurts. All right. Then we're going to go into Tyler Heineke. I wish I could put him higher on that list just because I've been high on him, on this guy, like pretty much the whole season. Even last year when it was the playoff and he had that crazy play versus the Bucs, man. This guy's a winner, but man, 2 weeks in a row around 10 fantasy points. It's just not great. But we're slim picking, and he has talent. He can throw, he can run, and he's playing Green Bay. Green Bay is definitely going to put a lot of points. Green Bay's defense is injured. So Tyler Heineke is a valuable streaming options. Right on. All right, that was it for the quarterbacks. Now we're going to go into our running backs. A lot of injuries. The two first one, I'd kind of flip him. My first one is J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick, just because he's still widely available in fantasy and on Yahoo, and he's a season-long option that you can have, very useful in the passing game. So go pick up J.D. McKissick if he's still available in your league, especially now with that Gibson shin. That's looking quite sketchy. Go pick him up. Next one is Dearness Johnson. Kareem Hunt is going to IR. Chubb is already out for Thursday night matchup. Chubb's injury looks like one that can easily re-injure, so I'm not even fully confident on what is it going to be like next week. But, I mean, they're being careful, probably not to get him re-injured. But still fire up Dearness Johnson versus Denver this week, which leads me into the next one, Demetric Felton. He's more of a gadget player. I have stocks in both that I picked up last week when Chubb was out. Just preventive measure, always pick up some handcuffs, and that can be useful when there's injuries that happen. But yeah, Felton is a gadget player. And if you're in the 3 receiver league and you're super slim at receiver and you got bye weeks, well, guess what? Demetric Felton also has that wide receiver designation in Yahoo, so you can fire him up in a wide receiver 3 spot. Then we got Rashad Penny, man. Mr. Injuries, Mr. Disappointment after disappointment. The thing is, it's a lot of injuries in Seattle. And he was a good running back in college, so maybe this is another shot that we give him at picking him up and talking about him in fantasy football and just seeing what's going to happen with that. But worth the ad. Then we got Jeremy McNichols. This one is a case of stashing a handcuff on your bench. McNichols is a good running back. We've talked about him before on the show. He's a good running back. So if anything were to happen to Derrick Henry, bless his soul, McNichols would be he would be slot in as a running back 2 with running back 1 upside if he gets the lead, if anything would happen to Henry. Our last running back, Ramondre Stevenson, Mr. Fumble from the Patriots. He's a very aggressive runner. I mean, I'm just making fun of him because he got a couple made a couple mistakes, but it seems like the Patriots staff still freaking love him because he's still getting opportunities after making those mistakes. So if Damian Harris gets banged up or if he himself keeps making mistakes, down the line he might inherit a starting role, especially when it's getting cold as the season goes on. Belichick might want to run out that more physical back to bruise up those defenses in the cold weather in New England. So, Stevenson, worth an ad on your bench. Now into the receivers. Receivers, man, this guy, been talking about him. It's crazy that he's still less than 50% owned in Yahoo leagues. Tim Patrick, man, he has established himself as a valuable option. I know Judy's coming back, but I'm still convinced he's going to have a role with Judy coming back because Patrick didn't even play in the slot. He plays mostly on the outside, and Judy plays mostly on the inside in the slot, so I'm not too worried about that. Go pick him up. And we got Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman had something he ran he didn't even play. They were easing him into his role after activating off IR, and he still ran 60%. He still ran routes on 67% of the dropbacks of Lamar Jackson. So good sign that they want to use him and get him the ball real early on. So go pick him up. Then we got Hunter Renfrow, another one I don't know, man. He's had a couple of slower weeks, but dude is a target monster in that offense. Monster. He's being targeted constantly every single week. So if you're slim picking a receiver, you got bye weeks, he's not a terrible option to have, especially against that Philly defense. They might get a touchdown or 2 by the air. All right, now we got Michael Gallup coming back from IR after the bye week. So you probably don't have to use a waiver on him. If he's available, you can probably go pick him up free agent after the waivers clear. Stash him on your bench if you have the room during their bye week. And then he's going to be coming back in that lineup. Just remember that game 1 where he got injured. He was getting a lot of targets going his way because he's just that good of a receiver. Then we got Darnell Mooney, man. Dude is being disrespected every single time that I bring up his name in waivers. If this guy is still available in your leagues, go pick him up, man. Do yourself a favor, go pick him up. This guy has breakout speed. He's just a talented individual. He can turn any reception into a touchdown. And it's, man, the more Fields is going to play, the better he's going to get. And he seems to like Mooney a lot, so go pick up Mooney. And then the last receiver is Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he's basically the starting receiver right now in Detroit. Detroit's going to be playing from negative script a whole freaking lot, as we've mentioned in almost literally every single episode this year. So do yourself a favor and go pick him up if he's still available. Right on, now we go into the tight end. Man, tight ends are slim when you come to under 50% owned. Most of the tight ends that are under 50% owned are not sexy, so we're trying to dig through that, get you some 60 plays. First one is Ricky Seals-Jones. I was mentioning him last week. Glad I have him on most of my teams to deal with my bye weeks and even with some injuries. Ricky Seals-Jones is good. He's going to be targeted a whole lot until Logan Thomas comes back, and he might still be featured when Logan Thomas comes back. Then we got Pat Freiermuth from the Steelers. Man, the dude has been getting constantly some decent targets. His targets seem to be going up. He's a rookie, getting acclimated to the NFL. Usually tight ends have a hard time acclimating and being fantasy relevant in their first year. But it looks like he's turning that corner around, and he's going to become relevant until the end of the season, I would say. Then we got Dan Arnold, the new acquiree from Jacksonville. Man, he's had a couple good games. Trevor Lawrence seems to be coming in together and trying to turn this floppiness around. So if Trevor Lawrence keeps getting better, I think Dan Arnold is going to keep increasing in value. And we got Mo Alley Cox. Mo Alley Cox, man, no, I don't like talking about him, not because he's not good. It's just because the only reason why he's relevant is touchdowns. But he's been getting those touchdowns. He's been getting those targets in the red zone. So, I mean, even if he's only getting an average about 3 targets a game, if a couple of those are, 3 to 4 targets a game, if a couple of those are in the red zone, that's all you need from your tight end. A touchdown and you're good to go. Tyler Conklin is another one of these players that's on bye this week. But let's say you're looking at an 8-week bye for your tight end. Tyler Conklin is mucho available in most leagues. So go pick him up and stash him for your week 8 bye weeks or week 9 bye weeks if you have those coming up. So now in our waiver column, just because there's so many freaking bye weeks this week, I'm going to give you a couple of streaming Ds. Also slim picking just because so many teams, so many fantasy players nowadays just go with the logic of streaming defenses, which wasn't a problem a few years back that you only had 1 or 2 guys per league that would do that, but now everyone's doing it. So slim picking, you got Miami versus ATL. ATL's offense isn't that great. New Orleans versus Seattle. Seattle's defense will let anyone pass on them, like literally anyone. So go ahead and pick them up. And also, nope, it's a defense. Sorry about that. Geno Smith playing at quarterback, and Alex Collins might be out. So they're in a tough situation. That offense in Seattle is in a tough situation. So New Orleans is worth it, fresh off the bye. Guys are healthy and had plenty of times to get ready for that matchup. Last one, Vegas against Philadelphia. Again, not a sexy defense option, but as we've seen throughout college, throughout last season, throughout this season, and as I was saying at the beginning of the year, to the dismay of my brother, the Eagles fan, Jalen Hurts doesn't know how to throw a freaking ball. So you might get a couple of INTs there. You might get a couple interceptions. Don't look for the sacks because he is pretty nifty with his legs. He can get out of trouble, but the arm no work. Interceptions, possible pick 6. You in business. So that was it for the waiver Week 7 Sideline Guideline. Make sure to go follow us on Insta and Twitter at Sideline Guide. Subscribe, follow, make sure that you don't miss anything, and feel free to reach out to us at any time if you have trade questions, if you have lineup question, anything. If not, we'll see you on our Week 7 preview episode. Have yourself a great week.